This time on Superstars, a screamer, a survivor, a serial killer, a slob, and a shepherd. Naomi Watts may not have been an overnight sensation, but since breaking through the parallel universe of Mulholland Drive, she's been all over the big screen like a rash. But having waited in the wings for 10 years watching her best friend Nicole Kidman take centre stage, who can blame her for champing at the bit? In fact, the story goes that before David Lynch offered her the starring role in his 2001 film, she had contemplated suicide. Born to British parents, Naomi moved to Sydney with her mother at the age of 14. After scoring a few television and film roles in Australia, she made the leap to America and landed a supporting role in 1995's Tank Girl, which lived up to its name at the box office. Her split character in Mulholland Drive proved a great showcase for her acting talents and won her a swag of awards. By the next year, she was showing off her versatility as a journalist in the remake of the Japanese horror film The Ring. Directed by Gore Verbinski, the film came in at number 20 on the cable channel Bravo's list of 100 scariest moments. And her convincingly terrified performance won her a berth in the sequel.
You're freezing, honey. What's going on? Are you sick? Talk to me, honey. Talk to me. What's going on?
The next year, she starred in A Divorce and found another high-profile friend in Kate Hudson.
I got to the set and I just felt these arms come around my waist. And I looked around and I was like, who's that? And it was Kate. I couldn't recognize her because of the wig. And I just felt so warm, and I felt that, you know, this is going to be okay. And sure enough, it was. Right from the get-go, we really created a nice bond. And we're friends now for probably forever.
Take the children inside.
She also bonded with the star of another of the year's films. After playing lovers in the outlaw biopic Ned Kelly, she and Heath Ledger became an item.
What are you doing here?
She reportedly broke up with him 2 years later, having had it with his partying and roving eye. But her meatiest role of 2003 was undoubtedly as a grief-stricken mother in 21 Grams, a role which won her a BAFTA award and her first Oscar nomination.
Because I was watching you swim before and you have a wide stroke. If you bring it in tighter, you get a better glide.
Thanks for the advice. You didn't even go.
The next year, she took on an even bigger challenge. Drawn to the storyline of We Don't Live Here Anymore, which chronicles the infidelities of privileged adults, she signed on as producer as well as star, alongside a very shaggy Laura Dern.
I don't even know. I don't know if I want to know.
Well, I think always you're interested in the psychological background of these characters and how they're trying to work out their problems. And, you know, my character was nowhere near coming close to working out what was going wrong in her marriage, and it become very passive because I think the pain was just too deep to address. And so I think it's beautiful when you see the growth of the character in the script.
You're involved with this. You don't believe in therapy.
She also starred in the existential comedy I Heart Huckabees, playing a woman so obsessed with being happy that she has to hide from the truth.
Remember last year, the trust thing, the paragliding? It's just like that.
No, it's not like that.
Actually, it is.
In her next big movie project, King Kong, she played the overgrown primate's terrified object of desire after getting a call from Peter Jackson.
The first call came about 6 months before I met him, and just was a call that said he's making a remake of King Kong and he's interested in you. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting and great, but I'm sure he's got 12 other girls he's talking about as well. Anyway, then I got a call to say, come meet, and I met him, and he and his wife, Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, the writing partners, and they talked about the movie, and you know, it just seemed like a great idea. Peter Jackson, the king of effects, and this lovely story that still stands up, even in the 1930s version where you don't buy those effects, this still manages to really hold you. And so I just thought that combined with Peter Jackson's brilliant talents in the whole CGI world, it sounded like a great idea.
As well as requiring a strong set of lungs, the role posed lots of other challenges.
I did some stunts. I had also a fantastic woman who helped me through all the extra difficult things, like backflips, and but that was probably the most difficult part of the filming, was just doing all the physical stuff, because I'm not of such a great build. But
her next leading man was slightly less hairy, though the prospect of working with Hollywood heavyweight Ed Norton would scarcely have been less daunting. The Painted Veil tells the story of a conservative doctor and a restless society girl who marry and move to Hong Kong.
Perhaps I could help in the hospital.
You're looking to kill yourself?
I married you even though I didn't love you, but you knew that. Aren't you as much to blame as I?
Unlike Naomi, Kate Winslet's career was straight out of the blocks, but then she does have some form. Her grandparents and parents were actors, as are her sisters Beth and Anna, along with just about everyone else in the family. After growing up in Berkshire, where she was bullied for being overweight and having big feet, she got a start on television and then landed her breakthrough role in Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures, a murderous tale based on the true story of two New Zealand teenagers. She netted her first Oscar nomination the following year, starring with Emma Thompson in Sense and Sensibility. Then at the age of 22, she became the youngest actress ever to be nominated twice, playing Rose in James Cameron's unsinkable blockbuster Titanic.
They've got you trapped, Rose, and if you don't break free, you're gonna die.
It's a ship. There's only so many places she can be. Find her.
Starring in a string of other period dramas like Quills and Finding Neverland, earned her the nickname Corset Kate. Her unwavering refusal to conform to stick-thin trends running rife in the film industry has won her much praise from health bodies and women's organisations. She recently won a libel case against a British magazine that wrongly stated she'd visited a diet doctor. In 2004, she ditched the corsets to win a fourth Oscar nomination, playing a woman who has all memories of her relationship erased.
I mean, I can't tell from one moment to the next what I'm gonna like, but right now, I'm glad you are.
By now, a mother of two, she found separating herself from her complex and dark character a real challenge.
In the good old days when I didn't have any kids, you know, it was sort of okay to take some of those things home with you. But, you know, I'm always so desperate to just finish work. Okay, finish, take the wig off, run home. Am I going to make it for bath time? You know, and I just want to get back and be a mum, you know, which is what I am most of my life anyway. And so, yeah, I very much had to kind of decompress in the car on the way home and just make sure I'd, you know, got all those emotions out the way and gone out the window.
2006 was a year of big challenges, such as taking on a remake of the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel All the King's Men, alongside Sean Penn and Anthony Hopkins, playing the neglected girlfriend of Jude Law.
Well, we had to bring so much every day. I mean, it was such an amazing story and such a complex story and such difficult, challenging characters, and you just have to be as prepared as you possibly can.
Motherhood certainly hasn't turned her into a prude. In her next Oscar-nominated turn in 2006's Little Children, she was stoic about getting her kit off for the camera.
Just go, right, now I've got to do this, okay, I just have to get through it, and, you know, it's going to be difficult, I'm going to have to take my clothes off in front of a group of people that I don't even know, and you just sort of, you know, it's hard, yeah, it is hard, and it actually, I think, gets harder as opposed to easier, even though I've done it many times before.
Mercifully, she got to balance the drama and controversy of Little Children with the fun and frolics of the romantic comedy The Holiday, in which she was paired with diminutive funny man Jack Black.
It was so wonderful. I mean, it was really nice to walk away from the experience with a genuine spring in my step, you know, and there's a lot of other things I've done where I've walked away just feeling as though, you know, I should be locked up in an asylum and need a kind of a month to recover. So that was really, really nice. But at the same time, it did have its own set of challenges, you know. I mean, it was a romantic comedy, therefore, you know, I'm not used to that. I had to sort of learn about that. And also playing a contemporary Brit, you know, I've never played that before.
When she's not collecting Oscar nominations, Kate and her director-husband Sam Mendes share their time between a home in New York, a manor in Stow-on-the-Wold, and a lake house near Canandaigua Lake. Kate has also tasted some success as a singer, reaching #1 in Ireland with her single What If from the soundtrack of Christmas Carol the movie. As well as reuniting with Titanic co-star Leonardo DiCaprio to star in Revolutionary Road, Kate is also rumoured to be taking on the role of real-life circus tiger tamer Mabel Stark. For his recent outing as Superman's evil nemesis Lex Luther, Kevin Spacey was easily persuaded to shave his head.
I was bald the entire 6 weeks that we were in Sydney, Australia, and then the 4 or 5 weeks it took for it to grow back when I got back to London. It's the easiest thing in the world. You just, you know, 5 minutes, it's all gone. And then, you know, they come and they make it up and they make it look, you know, better than it does when you're just out of the shower. But it's easy. It's the easiest thing ever.
An obvious choice to resurrect the dastardly villain upon Superman's return to the big screen, Kevin is no stranger to playing the bad guy.
It's 2 murders away from them.
Back in 1995, he played a serial killer coolly working his way through 7 Deadly Sinners in the crime thriller Seven.
7.
The same year, he gave the police and audiences the runaround as a small-town con-man being interrogated by police. His role in the all-star thriller won him an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Before that, he'd shown up in minor roles in Henry and June, Glengarry Glen Ross and Working Girl, while enjoying a successful stage career, which shielded a Tony Award for his portrayal of Uncle Louis in Neil Simon's Lost in Yonkers. In 1996, he played an egomaniacal district attorney in the John Grisham legal thriller A Time to Kill, alongside Samuel L. Jackson and Matthew McConaughey. 3 years later, he made off with first prize after playing a suburban husband deep in midlife crisis in American Beauty. He then set up his own company, Trigger Street Productions. And the Trigger Street website has gone on to offer aspiring screenwriters and filmmakers a platform to showcase and share their work.
It's astounding, you know, how many people go to a site like Trigger Street and just look at the material, let alone the number of real full-time members that we have who just have dedicated themselves to learning and growing as a community and, you know, debating about films and reviews, and you know, they're very active and very loyal, and it's for us, they're the reasons why this site has been a success, is because the community has made it work.
One of his first productions was The Big Kahuna, adapted from a play. And in 2004, he was thinking even bigger, writing, producing, directing and starring in the Bobby Darin biopic Beyond the Sea.
Yeah, but I didn't intend on directing it. It just fell to me because the directors I wanted to have do it couldn't do it for years, and I knew if I didn't do this movie last year, I'd never get a chance to do it. So it fell to me, and I'm glad I did it. I mean, it was an incredible experience, but I couldn't have done it without all those people on that poster and a lot of people on the end credits of this film.
He also did all his own singing and staged several concerts to promote the film about the entertainer who died tragically young. Amazingly, he never forgot which hat to wear when.
He was incredible. I mean, he just transcended between, you know, being a director and an actor so gracefully that, you know, I was never jarred by that. It was just a natural position for him.
His next progression may have surprised a few theatre buffs, but on taking over as artistic director of London's Old Vic Theatre in 2004, Kevin was quick to defend the move.
I think just as when British actors come over to Broadway and play Broadway, it's different for the audience to be able to see as many remarkable British and other talents that have come to New York. I see no reason why some of us shouldn't come over here and take a crack at it.
Not long after arriving in London, he hit the headlines after claiming to be mugged while walking his dog in the park at 4 a.m. He later changed his story, and the incident resurrected speculation about his sexuality. But having put down roots in London, he's likely to be at the Old Vic helm until at least 2015. Vince Vaughn may look rough and rugged, but he comes from blue-chip stock. His Canadian-born mother made it big as one of America's top brokers. And after growing up in Illinois, he got accepted into Yale University, but opted out to take up a career in acting. Once in Hollywood, he took time to find his feet, but broke through in 1996 in Swingers, before playing an environmentally minded photojournalist in The Lost World Jurassic Park. In 1998, he missed out on a Golden Raspberry Award as Norman Bates in the remake of Psycho, which carried off Razzies for Worst Remake or Sequel.
Derek.
Despite not earning a credit for his role in Ben Stiller's Zoolander in 2001, his on-set charm must have impressed Ben enough to earn him a berth in 3 of 2004's Frat Pack projects, including Starsky and Hutch, which took him back to the 70s.
Man of action.
It costs money. Planes, they cost money. This yacht, my kid's braces, it all costs money. Do you think Kitty's free? What?
He swapped the Moe and Tartan for the sweat and pump of Globo's Jim in Dodgeball, a true underdog story. It gave him another chance to study one of his comedy heroes close up.
I was a fan of Ben's ever since the TV show that he did, the Ben Stiller show, and always wanted to work with him. Although I had a small cameo in Zoolander and Starsky and Hutch, played the heavy, but this was really the first time that we were able to really have a movie where we both were kind of significant parts in it. So it's a lot of fun to do scenes with him. What are you doing on our station's turf, Burgundy?
Come get it.
He also made uncredited appearances in Anchorman and Wake Up Ron Burgundy. The next year was even bigger. As well as playing Brad Pitt's best friend in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, he featured in Be Cool and Thumbsucker. But the main event of 2005 was his starring role in Wedding Crashers.
We only use 10% of our brain. I think we only use 10% of our heart.
Playing divorce mediators with a penchant for other people's weddings, he and Owen Wilson struck up a winning on-screen partnership that helped gross the film $33 million in its opening weekend.
Buddy, that's going to take a lot of balloons.
Make me a bicycle clown!
And Vince clearly had a ball.
A lot of laughs, man. It turned out really funny, and it's got a good story, you know, different than a lot of comedies. They're just kind of sketch comedies. The movie's as funny as you want, but also it has a good twist to it.
According to his co-star, Vince was just as commitment-phobic as his on-screen character.
Vince breaks out into a cold sweat if he even hears about a wedding.
Jesus.
It's going to be hard to lasso this stallion right here.
This big lug has a real hard time hearing the word wedding.
And after sitting down to write the breakup with Jeremy Garelick and Scott Stuber, he only had one in his sights for the part of Brooke Mayers.
Because we wanted someone who's really good at comedy and really funny, and she's the best out there with comedy. We also needed someone who's a great actress, which Jennifer is, because the movie takes dramatic turns.
You got 3 lemons.
Yeah, well, what my baby wants, my baby gets.
Exuding oodles of chemistry, the pair played down rumors they had struck up a real-life romance after Jen's split with Brad Pitt. It was only in the autumn of 2006 when Vince filed a lawsuit against 3 magazines who claimed he'd been unfaithful to Jen that the game was up. By the end of the year, the relationship was over anyway, keeping Vince free for his next aptly named project, Into the Wild, directed by Sean Penn. He may command upwards of $10 million a movie, but Matt Damon is more than prepared to give back. Along with George Clooney and Brad Pitt, he supports One, a campaign fighting AIDS and poverty in the Third World. He's also very hands-on with 1x1, a non-profit foundation to improve the lives of children. And returning to Hollywood after a recent trip to Africa was a challenge.
It is, yeah, sure. It's absolutely difficult, and your perspective changes. It doesn't mean you can't focus on your own life, and I mean, it doesn't mean life as you know has to end. It's just that it definitely colors your perspective in a different way. I mean, you become very aware of all of the things that we have here and all the things we take for granted, and the frivolity of some of the things we spend our time focusing on. Yeah, your perspective definitely changes.
All right, time for the starter's gun. Let me tell you what you don't.
One of the more frivolous things he focused on recently was the third installment of the Ocean's blockbuster franchise. He spent the best part of a promotional tour for Hunkfest Ocean's 13 horsing around with his co-stars.
There have been a lot of changes since we started these movies.
Matt, Brad's had it tough.
Brad's had it tough.
Yeah. He's hobbled with children.
And that wife.
Horrible, ugly wife.
I mean, to go home to her every day.
What do you do? I mean, kill yourself, I guess. Not much left.
Well, you have your work.
There's your work.
That's about it. You can
take
refuge there.
The film had its world premiere in Cannes, a fittingly exotic backdrop and a great place to party.
Yeah, well, because we brought it here because we think we're going to win.
Win it. We're going to win. Everybody told us we're going to win. Well, and it's really not about the film as much as it's about getting the award.
Winning. Winning
because the film, who gives a shit? I don't care about the film. What we really want is we want the hardware. We want the award.
Doesn't matter if we win.
Little did they care that the film wasn't even in competition. Sitting atop the US box office for 5 weeks, it was still a winner. Matt began his career in the movies while studying at Harvard. He dropped out after landing a big part in Geronimo, An American Legend, but had to wait until 1996 to make waves as a heroin-addicted soldier in Courage Under Fire. He and school friend Ben Affleck had already been pitching their script about a young maths genius around Hollywood, calling on screenwriter William Goldman for advice. The script became Good Will Hunting, which won Matt and Ben an Oscar for Best Screenplay. Matt also earned a Best Actor nomination as the film's star. Since then, he's been mixing it up, appearing in low-budget art house movies like Chasing Amy and Dogma, and starring alongside Heath Ledger in Terry Gilliam's The Brothers Grimm.
He is my daughter.
He also signed up for the big-dollar thriller franchise that began with The Bourne Identity and continued with The Bourne Supremacy.
What if it's not who you think it is?
While the third episode, entitled The Bourne Ultimatum, sounds like the end of the line, one can never be sure in Hollywood.
Well, thanks to you, we think
in 2005, he signed on to star with Ocean's colleague and friend George Clooney in Syriana.
So, yes, on behalf of my firm, I accept your money.
Then he got down to some serious business, playing mobster Jack Nicholson's protege in Martin Scorsese's The Departed.
Man, you are trouble.
You don't know the half of it.
The first time I walked on the set, I stopped because I thought we were rolling, and I thought nobody had stopped me when I walked in the stage door. And then I saw people moving heavy equipment, and they were making no noise, and I realized that, we weren't rolling. So I walked up, and a couple minutes into it, I realized this is it. This is how people, he likes it quiet, he wants to focus, he wants everybody to focus, and everybody's real grateful to have the chance to work for him. So yeah, we were like little church mice for, for a few months.
Next, he had the privilege of working with Martin's muse, Robert De Niro, who directed the CIA thriller The Good Shepherd.
Do Edward save the world?
I'll do what I can.
Playing Angelina Jolie's on-screen husband also gave him the opportunity to make another of his Ocean's co-stars jealous.
I think there was weirdness for Brad. I think my incredible sex appeal probably freaked him out a little bit, made him a little insecure, and I get that.